Up at 7 o'clock. Are you ready? Dr. Stan? Dr. Stan? Dr. Stan? Are you all ready? Okay. Welcome, everybody, and we are going to go ahead and reconvene our regular board meeting. And with that, we're going to 6 to 7, where am I at? Let's see, adjourn special meeting. So then we're going to go ahead and go with a roll call again, I believe. Yes?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, President Adams. Governing Board members present, Governing Board President, Mr. Bill Adams, Governing Board Vice President, Ms. Nikki Whaley, Governing Board members, Ms. Jenny Abbott-Bayardi, and Ms. Lindsay Peterson.
Thank you. And now we'll go ahead and take a moment of silence and meditation. I would ask that we think about those, our military that we lost in Afghanistan today and all those other lives that have been lost today. If we would just take a moment and think about them. Thank you. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May I have a motion for the adoption of the August 26, 2021 regular meeting agenda, please?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. May I have a motion for the approval of the July 22nd, 2021 study session, public hearing, and regular governing board meeting minutes, please?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. May I have a motion for the approval of the August 4th, 2021 special and executive governing board meeting minutes?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Current events and acknowledgments, board? Please.
All right. Well, I just wanted to take a minute and welcome everybody back to the new school year. Officially, it's been a while since we met, so I just wanted to welcome everybody back. I wanted to give a special shout out to those schools of ours that are 145 dismissal schools and that had that massive monsoon storm right at dismissal last week. I don't usually pick my kids up from school, but I got the carpool card that day, and wow. So I was in line with you, and I cannot, I've never seen anything like that. So 145 dismissal schools, hooray for surviving that. I just also wanted to mention the vaccine event yesterday in conjunction with Glendale Union. When I picked my son up from football practice, the signs were out and people were there. And I just appreciate everyone getting vaccinated, masking up, and protecting our kids, and doing everything we can to just try to get back to normal. And, you know, in the meantime, just embracing our students on our campuses and welcoming them with so much excitement. And just, I love the start of a new school year. And so thanks everybody for working so hard at it.
Thank you. Jen?
And I will piggyback what Lindsay said. Thank you so much for coming back. I mean, that's, everybody has choices to make. And so I appreciate all of the administrators, staff, teachers, everybody for coming back. And I look forward to a wonderful year of serving you. And again, just thank you again for coming back and teaching our kids.
Thank you. I definitely echo the sentiments of my fellow board members. Welcome back to school. I'm so proud and happy of everybody coming back and doing the best that they can. And I do really appreciate all the effort that has been made. I do also want to take a moment to acknowledge the elephant in the room, or the numbers that we currently are at. If you've been getting our emails, our number of cases have continued to go up week after week for the last couple months. We have gone up 5 times as many cases of COVID in our schools between last week and the week before that. And so while we are, doing better than some districts, and I think some of our mitigation strategies are to thank for that, we are still in a crisis. And we have gotten several emails as a board asking us to revisit our mitigation plan, given the lawsuit with Phoenix Union where it said that Phoenix Union was allowed to mandate masks. And given that neighboring districts have changed their opt-out to be medical-only opt-outs, I just want to acknowledge that we have received the several emails asking us to revisit. And I also wanted to let folks know that I did make the request of Dr. Stanton and President Adams to have that on the agenda. My hope is that people will take this seriously. We want to keep our schools open. I want my kids to be in person. But the fact of the matter is our numbers are going up. And so we need to do everything that we can. And we can only ask so many times in so many ways. So I hope people begin to take the seriousness so that we don't have to close. And so with that, I will turn it over to whoever needs to speak next.
Thank you. And thank you, Ms. Whaley. I appreciate that. And I also echo my fellow board members. And I, too, want to thank our staff. This is not an easy time, and so we very much appreciate everything you're all doing, and also thank the parents. And excuse me, that's mine. I do apologize. I have it off too. I'm an old guy. I can't figure this out. So back to my thank yous with the parents. Yes, we are getting emails, and I want to thank those individuals that do write, because in some situations they are in favor of situations, in some situations they are not. But the bottom line is their emails are very professional, and they are, for all intents and purposes, we do hear everybody and we do listen to everybody. And again, I want to thank all those that do either call or write emails. So thank you there. Again, we wish everybody the best this year, and this board, we're here for you, and we do listen to everybody. With that, we'll go on to our Golden Apple Awards. Dr. Stanton. Oh, I'm sorry, current events. Sorry, forgive me. No, fine.
Mr. Adams, members of the board, members of the audience, it is the beginning of school. Thank you for everyone. I look around, and I look around not just visually here, but also everywhere. It takes a village, and we have a great village. And so thank you to all staff, classified, certified, admin, auxiliary, just incredible staff with big hearts to get, and many people don't see the hours and the days that are put to get school going. And so I want to thank, there's not a way that I can thank every department here, so I just want to thank everyone completely. We got our schools up and going. I want to thank the people that did the PLA planning for our leaders. There were many days, many meetings, many planning. We had one recently this week where we had some great conversations, and I want to say thank you to the teams that are putting that together. We're trying to meet the needs of our staff. Occasionally we stumble, but we pick ourselves up and we get better by talking and communicating. A couple of things. I had a chance to welcome our social service folks. So Dorothy and the team, thank you so much. They're a fantastic, great team of people. Want to thank them for inviting me out and just giving a chance to say thank you, and part of it being our team. Had a workforce housing meeting, actually trying to learn about possible workforce housing to come to our area. We'll see if that's fruition. There's talks about Metro Center, there's talks about different places, so we'll have to keep our eyes on that as well. Got a chance with Mr. Mattingly to go to GCU to work with them on our, because they are one of our universities that supply us future educators and social workers and nowadays. We get a lot of their graduates to come over to Washington, so I want to thank them for that opportunity as well. And as I mentioned, I don't want to thank any departments in particular. Central registration, though, I do just want to say when the numbers come in, they come in, and those teams step up, so we thank them as well for helping out. They're kind of those unsung heroes along the way. I did have the microburst as well, so thank you for everybody, Andre's team, Mike's team, school personnel. We dealt with sinkholes, we dealt with ACs that moved off the roof, we dealt with broken trees that busted, etc. But again, if you don't see it, it's because these teams have really worked hard to get this going, and unsung heroes. I want to thank Deirdre and Pam and everyone for our ESSER survey going out and getting the fallback. I know that information's coming in. Thanks a million for that as well. And then finally, and this is the beginning of the school year one, so I want to thank Deidre also for the ESSER stakeholder group that was, and the staff that were all there as well. We got a lot of our students and families that have needs that we normally don't address. And if anybody's not aware, that's what ESSER is all about. So I want to thank you guys for putting that together. We look forward to bringing that information. And then last but not least, yesterday, I know Paula McWhorter's not here, but I want to thank her for, we did some training on our diagnostics yesterday, and the coaches and the principals that were there and the folks were just excited that we'll have some diagnostic information so that we can put kids in intervention groups, et cetera. So we are off and running, but thank you to all the hardworking people that make it happen every day. We can't say enough. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. And with that, I'm going to push it back to you for the Golden Apple Awards.
President Adams, members of the board, members of the audience, we continue the Golden Apple Awards, a chance for us to recognize some of our dedicated individuals that you may not always get to hear about. Would Emmy Watson, Special Needs Preschool Coordinator, please come forward? The WSD Search to Serve conducts child find activities which locate and evaluate children ages 2 and 9 months to 5 years old suspected of having a disability. If the disability impacts his or her learning or educational performance, special education and related services may be recommended. This talented team, made up of therapists, psychologists, have a highly efficient and organized system for welcoming families to their center to conduct evaluations. However, the COVID pandemic and school closures impacted the team's ability to meet in person with families. But this team came together quickly, brainstormed options and possibilities, and formulated a plan to continue their vital work in reaching our youngest of students in need. As WSD facilities were closed for in-person activities, the Search to Serve team, as many know you as, moved and evaluated and assessments online. While this posed many challenges, this team continued to meet with families and students. Putting their expertise together, the team formulated a detailed and comprehensive plan to modify their testing environment and processes to address CDC guidelines, implement mitigation strategies, and modify their facility in order to safely bring students in for their assessment over the summer months. Thanks to their vision and determination to continue to offer vital child find services, evaluations continued successfully and effectively. This incredible Search to Serve team is commended for your outstanding work and deserving of a WSD Golden Apple Award. Would Kathleen McKeever please come forward? Molly Kemp as well then, thank you. Didn't know it was coming, thank you guys. The Academic Support Department provides support to our students and families in the district through a variety of functions. The major ones include both before and after school childcare, KidSpace in our K-6 and K-8 sites. KidSpace provides an enriching and activity-filled activities, that's hard to say, for students from 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Another aspect of the department focusing on after-school academy for over 20 schools this year with a focus on reading, math, and STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math activities to engage students to continue learning after their regular school day. There is ongoing collaboration from the standards being taught during the school day and supported and reinforced during the after-school classes. The academy was extended to all 32 schools for 4 weeks during summer this year. Facility usage is also another function of the department in order to offer school building and grounds for after-school and weekend groups for a variety of activities, including sports, enrichment, community groups, as well as faith-based services on the weekends. These are fee-based services that groups can take advantage of for the benefit of both their adults and children in our community. During this last school year, a number of the services in the department had to be modified to support our students and staff. This included creating a system for training, registration, and staffing for the online support in all of those 32 schools. Over 10,000 STEM kits were distributed to students for at-home learning activities that students as well as families could engage in for their learning. Such innovative practices, including the walking classroom, students listening to podcasts while learning and walking, as well as a Kindness Rocks project, where students created art on rocks as they learn about social emotional strategies, are a foundation of this department. Many of the activities were adapted for the virtual environment, including the first ever virtual ASA basketball tournament with a playoff tournament with Dr. Stan. What is it? Who wrote that? Who wrote that? Who wrote that? I lost. Yes, I did, but it was wonderful to lose to those children. They were great. Kathleen McKeever, as director of the department, is to be commended for her leadership as she works to provide effective and exemplary services for our schools, community, and most importantly, our students. The Academic Support Department proves daily that they are deserving of the WSD Golden Apple Award. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you all for what you do. And now we'll move on to public participation. Ms. Tucker?
We did not receive any requests for public participation.
Thank you, ma'am. So now we go on to approval of consent agenda. Would anyone like to pull any of the items? Ms. Whaley?
I'd like to pull item L, please.
Thank you, ma'am. So may I have a motion to approve A through Q, except for L?
I move.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And so, Ms. Whaley, you got L, I think.
Thank you, President Adams. I just wanted to talk a little bit about L because I know I was confused when I first saw it and I had some questions I think I spoke with Ms. Mora today about this. And really, I was just curious as to what inequity, did I pull the right one? Yeah, Equitable Services and Federal Programs Coordinator was. I didn't understand the definition of equity as it was used in this place. So, Ms. Mora, and I know it says Mr. Mattingly as well. So, can you explain what this coordinator is for?
Absolutely. President Adams, Governing Board member. This position is called an Equitable Services Coordinator. And so what this position would be designed to do is to support our students that live in our boundaries but attend a private school by choice. And per federal law, we have to provide federal funding that is generated and we receive, however, that is entitled to go to those private schools. So this coordinator will be working to ensure that those funds reach the private school, that they have the meaningful consultation that were required, and ADE has added some additional guidelines to that. They will also work with them to ensure that they're implementing the strategies that they put in place and then continue to pull their data with them. So it really is a position that's working with making sure those funds are utilized properly with the private schools.
And this particular position has nothing to do with educational equity strategies so much as, making sure all students get the resources that they need and individualized planning. This is really just making sure that students are getting their fair share of their Title I dollars, and that those are going to where they need to go to.
That is correct. And then making the decisions to make sure that the decisions the private schools make are in alignment with federal guidelines.
Thank you. I just wanted to make that clear because I know when it says private school and we're sending our money to private schools, sometimes people get confused, but we are legally obligated to provide our title funds to our students that are from the district, even if they choose to go to private schools.
Yes, and that is federal law.
My second question is, at first I didn't understand the title. This is just the title as the federal government calls it. So it's not maybe synonymous with how we might use the word equity in the district in terms of that. So that would be a whole different discussion.
Yeah, Ms. Whaley, that is correct. This is a term that's been in place with the federal government for a number of years and really is just about making sure that they receive equitable access to the federal funds that they're entitled to.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Whaley, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I will motion that we approve item L as presented.
Thank you, ma'am. May I have a second?
A second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. That brings us.
President Adams?
Yes, ma'am.
May I make just a comment on consent agendas?
Yes, please.
I just wanted to take a moment. Sometimes I pull items, but there's several items here on the consent agenda, and I didn't want to stress anybody out by pulling them all. But I do want to give special recognition to Kathleen McKeever and her team, Deidre as well, and then Mike Kramer and his team. There is a significant amount of grant dollars that we are bringing in to support our students. And these dollars are so very important given the funding shortages that we experience here in Arizona. And we are so lucky to have really top-notch grant writers who consistently bring these dollars into our students. And so I just want to acknowledge, I'm so glad we got to acknowledge you today for the after-school programs, but the grant dollars that you all secure for us and Mike Kramer with the building grants, we really do appreciate the efforts that you do and how that helps our kids.
Thank you. So that brings us to a call for a public hearing. May I have a motion to recess the regular meeting for the public hearing, please?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And now we are into the public hearing, second reading of policy IC, school year instructional time model.
Can you hear me? President model. As a reminder, on the first read, this was House Bill 2862, which was passed, which allows districts the flexibility of adjusting the instructional time model and would offer some opportunity for ways in which we can provide instruction. This is the second read. There were no changes from the first read. And so at this time, if there's any questions or comments, I would be happy to take those questions now.
Board members? Ms. Welly?
Thank you. This is another one that I had questions on, and I know it's the second read, and I don't know why it didn't occur to me before, but with this particular policy, the policy itself looks fine. Policies are general. I understand that this policies come to us from ASBA, Arizona School Boards Association. They create these policies based on legislative changes that happen. So as the laws change, they create policies to keep us compliant. They hand them to us, and then we as a board decide to pass them, and then they become our policies. We are able to make modifications to them, but usually they just give us these straightforward things. I'm fine with the policy. The question that I have is when we go over to the regulation, which is supposed to be how we intend to implement the policy. Generally, that's what regulations are, is how we're going to follow through with that. Passing time between classes is up to 7 minutes, may include instructional time. Passing time between lunch and recess is not included. I don't know what that has to do with how we are going to structure our instructional time. And I know that there are minutes in the day. We need to do 180 hours. I know that there's also legal parameters around how many minutes of instruction we need for certain subjects. And I can't recall those numbers. I know you did a presentation, several years ago. My concern with this regulation is it does not seem to appear to have anything to do with or give our community any kind of understanding of what the instructional day should look like. And so I'm just wondering if we can add anything to this.
Excuse me. Ms. Whaley, President Adams, we can look at the regulation, obviously, and take a look at that. We do have another policy, though, IHA, which does speak to our basic instructional program. So that one talks about what we include, language arts, those types of things. It doesn't have the minutes in there. This policy is actually designed, once again, like you said, to address the instructional time that we have and the flexibility in which we can provide those instructions. So with that regulation, that may not be the place we'd want to put it. We could definitely take a look at the other policy, though.
One other question. Would it be possible to reference policy IHA here? If I was, not that a ton of people are looking at our policy manual online, but if I wanted to know what our instructional, what my kid's doing on a given day and how they're spending their time, and I'm looking through all the policies, instructional time might be the place I would end, not knowing that it's under whatever IHA.
IHA.
Yeah, IHA. So maybe we can reference that as just a helpful hint for people that are interested in maybe that particular information. Because again, as somebody that's not a policy wonk and I'm not an educator, I wouldn't have known to look somewhere else if I was just somebody, on the street.
I think we definitely can take a look at cross-referencing that.
That's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Thank you. So the next time so for our third read, you'll implement Mrs. Whaley's recommendation?
We don't have to do a third read. There was just 2 required for this piece.
There you
so.
go. So it doesn't require a vote or anything like that?
Okay.
Yes, it does. I see that. Somebody, I can't hear.
Sorry, President Adams. I just wanted to note that we do have the chat open for public not public
Thank you.
participation, publics to comment. And I've been watching, and so far we don't have any questions from the public.
Very good. Thank you. Okay. If no one else has anything else to add, so now we're going to go ahead and reconvene our meeting, correct? And with that, I will do this. And the meeting is now, our regular meeting is now reconvened, and we're on to action item 11. 11A is approval of the revision of policy IC, school year and instructional time model. And this says district leadership team.
Mr. Adams, as presented, we are presenting for the school year instructional time model, IC, for approval. Because we had a public
It's
hearing
the
and, sorry.
item that we just, yeah.
Sorry.
I was just, excuse me, Dr. Stanton, I was just going to say it's the item that we just discussed, so now there needs to take action on the policy.
Okay. Board, in your board packets, you, and hopefully have it in front of you, but you had an opportunity to review all the updates that went along with it. Does anybody have anything that they wish to discuss?
Excuse me,
Sorry?
President Adams, I'm so sorry. I don't want to, I think I've confused everyone. We are still on 11A, which is approval of the IC policy alone that was just discussed during the public hearing. We're not on the informational item later on with the rest of the policies. So this is the motion to approve what was discussed during the.
My apologies.
I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to motion that we approve policy IC with the recommendation that we reference relevant policies regarding instruction in that policy. That's it.
Perfect.
Can you
I'd like to second it if I may.
I'm sorry, can I get you to repeat that since it's not the.
Yes, so I would like to make a motion that we approve policy IC with the addition of referenced additional policies, including IHA.
And I'm going to second that one if I may.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. So, are we now down to 11A? Where are we?
11B.
Thank you, guys. I'm so sorry. So 11B is going to be, this is ours, board, and this is where we're going to go ahead and we're going to pick out a representative for the ASB, Arizona School Board Association's Delegate Assembly on Saturday, September 11th. And as you look at the motion, you'll also find that our top priorities are also embedded in here. So the individual that is chosen, we would hope would represent our top 5 priorities. With that, does anybody wish to volunteer for Saturday to be our representative? Otherwise, I'm going to nominate Aaron Yannicki. Aaron, I hope you're listening.
I second.
Anyways, inside joke. We love you, Aaron. Does anybody volunteer? You're all not jumping.
I recuse myself from
Right.
taking that.
Right, Ms. Wells.
I nominate our president, Bill Adams.
Unfortunately, I'm busy
Oh,
that weekend,
gosh.
and I cannot make it. Now, if we don't have somebody, we could nominate our new appointed
I
No?
second.
Okay, yeah, second, yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
If we don't find a person, it just means that our voice is not heard in the political agenda that is going to be put forth and guide the association's advocacy efforts in the current year. So it is important for us as a member to use our voice to make sure that it's heard. So I would do it myself, although I'm removing myself from that. It's not an official conflict of interest, but I believe it's just better for me not to be in that position.
I volunteer.
Thank you, Jen.
I second.
I third. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Jenny.
That is so wonderful of you. Thank you for doing that. You know who's going to be next, right?
I'll plan ahead for next year.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, ladies. That was wonderful. Thank you so much, fellow board members. Right, so that pushes us up to Assembly.
Do we need a motion?
Does it require a motion?
It's an action item.
It says discussion item, action session. All right, I've got a second over here.
Yeah.
Nominated. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. And that's very kind of you. So now we're on to 12, correct?
Yes.
This is the first read of the proposed amended governing board policies, sections B, D, G, and E. Now, this is where I was saying everybody has a copy of this or has seen it, and hopefully you've had a chance to review it. And wait a minute. First reading, this again goes back to district leadership, so sir, it's you.
Mr. President, members of the board, members of the audience, this is a first read. Each year, ASBA puts out recommended policies at the beginning of the school year. There are a fair amount, I believe, Ms. Tucker, total of bringing 19, I think, potentially. And this evening, you have less than the 19, but we brought some of them forward. Many are based on laws that have been put into place, other recommendations based on various attorney general's opinions, et cetera. So typically, we put the policy, as Mrs. Tucker did a beautiful job of kind of just what kind of update it is. I don't know if it made it in, Ms. Tucker, the minor major ones or not. Did that make it in there for those folks? If not, that's okay.
Yes, it
Good.
does say that on the top.
Thank you.
And again,
So what we try to do in the past for our new board members is if we saw something that was minor, typos or just quick little edits, we called it minor. If we saw something that was inserted or something was majorly deleted, we called it major. So we kind of use the minor major just to give you an idea. But the ASBA does a really nice job of kind of highlighting the changes so you can see it, and then usually provides references so you can know what the law, attorney general's opinions, et cetera. So this is a first read, no need for action this evening.
Board members, any questions or? Oh, yes, ma'am.
Thank you, President Adams. I would like to draw our attention to policy BIB and associated regulation BIB-R. And again, I don't mean to make it seem like people don't understand where policies come from, but I mean, many of our community members don't. And I want to talk about this one in particular because this particular policy came about based on political desire to remove equity conversations from our classrooms and in our trainings. And unfortunately, this policy and its regulation came forth. However, if you look at the regulation and what it's prohibiting, so this is basically prohibiting us from engaging in any kind of training or orientation that puts blame or judgment on the basis of race, ethnicity, sex. And so that would include diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's the aim of this. However, it is my understanding, based on conversations with various legal folks, that much of what we would do or aim to do in terms of promoting equity, diversity, and inclusion in this district has nothing to do with the things that are prohibited here. So for example, any kind of training that would encourage or support the creation of a more equitable and inclusive environment would not include anything saying that one race was better than the other. It would not include anything that says anybody is innately racist. Even if it talks about the topic of racism, it does not mean that that training is innately saying that anybody is racist. So the majority of these things that are listed are, in my opinion, designed to intimidate and dissuade districts from engaging in educational equity efforts. And in my opinion, there's more laws in place that require us to do many of the things that we do for educational equity, which include differentiated services, representative and equal opportunity hiring, many other things. Every Child Succeeds Act, which is a rollover from No Child Left Behind under the Bush administration, requires us to look at data based on race and other demographics in order to ensure equity and outcomes. So all that to say is I believe it's important as a board member who supports educational equity and the work that we are doing in this district to explicitly add to this policy that we do not take this policy to in any way, shape, or form prohibit or discourage staff from engaging in discussions around equity, diversity, and inclusion. I think that we could talk about what language in particular, but it is my hope that this board would add something to be a signal to our community and to our staff that they should not see this policy, which is completely legal-based, as aligned with our priorities. I'm sorry, and I'll also note that we are able to add and change these policies as long as whatever we add to it does not directly break any laws.
I'll make a comment if no one has one. Mrs. Whaley is absolutely correct. We do not have to adopt these policies. These are recommendations from ASBA. If we do revise them or change them, ASBA will not stand by us should we be challenged. My recommendation would be, this is a House bill that's been added to our Title, it's ARS 41, that governs us. And I would suggest that this is the first read. On the second read, maybe we can get legal counsel to come in and see and find out exactly where we stand on this, and take Mrs. Whaley's recommendations and let's have a conversation. Find out what can we do, what we can't do. Are we able to add to it? Can we change? Can we modify it without placing ourselves in legal jeopardy? So, can that be done, Doctor? Stanton?
Mr. Adams, I will certainly ask counsel tomorrow. I mean, based on what's being discussed tonight, we could certainly ask counsel.
Ms. Whaley, is that acceptable?
That is acceptable. I do just want to add that ASBA itself and its trainings do tell people that they are free to modify their language. Their language is completely unbiased and unreferenced. So whether or not they think it's a good policy or not, whether or not it's a best practice or not, they write their policies to be just what the law requires. And there has been precedent for us to change policies provided to us by ASBA in order to make them meet our needs. And so long as those changes don't violate any laws, then we are able to do that. And the lack of copyright just simply means that it's not something that they wrote. I just want to put that out there, that there is no kind of innately bad thing about not having an ASBA copyright, and that's straight from the horse's mouth. So, but I think that that's a fine proposition to come up with some potential, if anybody else cares to, language to add that we could then run by legal to see if that would be appropriate.
Thank you. And Mrs. Whaley is correct. Over the years, over the many, many years, there have been times that our board has opted not to accept the policy. So, in fact, we could write whatever we wish. My caution is I don't wish our district to ever be in legal jeopardy, and so I want to respect what Mrs. Whaley is saying, and also bring in legal counsel to say, you know, what are our options and what can we do, and what just get some opinions on it. So, Ms. Whaley, thank you so much for those comments. Board members, anybody else have anything? If not, I'm going to go ahead and move forward. So that brings us to reports. And Dr. Stan, that is yours.
Mr. Adams, members of the board, members of the audience, as we've been doing since the beginning of the school year, we're focusing on our department updates. So we'll go around the dais as we have in the past. And so, Dr. Bailey, would you please discuss what's beginning in our schools and our academic areas, academic support? And
Thank you, President Adams, members of the board. our participants that are still here. Actually, the board members actually did my report, so so thank you very much, and Dr. Stanton. But we did begin on August 9th with our students entering our school rooms. The teachers I know that are out here and the principals that are out here were very excited to see students' faces in front of them. Many of them were, needless to say, wearing masks, but they had those students in front of them. We prepared during that pre-week, and so going through a lot of the mitigation types of strategies that have been implemented in our schools, which meant that some of the schedules had to be changed, some of the lunchroom times had to be changed in order to meet the mitigation strategies. But teachers and principals really adapted to that. As usual, during our first couple of days, there were traffic problems, so thank you, parents, for being very, very patient. As we went through those, as was mentioned, we usually work up to a rainy day, but no, we got it the first week, okay? So we got to practice some of those, especially during that microburst where everybody got soaked, including parents, students, and staff. Actually, there were challenges besides the microburst. As you know, a number of our students have not been back in school for 18 months. During our last quarter, we were open, but 6,000 of our students were online. So procedures and rules, we've really been working with our students on that, as well as the social and emotional. We really worked a lot with that during the first couple of weeks. We have started some testing, and I know that Ms. Moore will go into that a little bit, where we're really looking at the academic needs of our students. But it has been a very productive and joyous time for us to have our students back. Thank you.
Mr. Mattingly will provide an update regarding human resources and back to our schools.
Sorry about that, everybody. Governing Board President Adams, Governing Board members, Dr. Stanton. First, I just have to recognize, I go to the schools, about 2 or 3 schools a week, and kudos and big thank you to everybody out in our schools servicing our children out there every day. So they're doing a fantastic job, and I'd be remiss not to say something publicly like that. So I really appreciate everybody for all their hard work out there. HR, so August 31st, put on your calendars. Here in the Governing Board room, we have a nutrition service career fair. So that's going to be here August 31st. August 20th, we had a career fair with Arizona Humans on Unemployment, and that was virtual. Trying to make a difference for those that are seeking employment, that are unemployed, and it was a different approach. And so we were able to provide opportunities. Transportation, food services, kid space attended and played a role in that virtual job fair. Our wellness program is up and running. The Move 1 Million Challenge began last week, and this just gets all of our staff members that want to participate stretching with different activities, getting the muscle group going. And, you know, with everything going on, exercise relieves stress and plays a role in somebody's success, mental health or social health. So we're excited to get some wellness programs up and running and get that our staff members an opportunity to participate. Excited to share one more resource that our HR department put together. We are the central hub to take on staff calls for all their COVID needs and concerns and questions. But we're not always available right then and there when they call, so we've designed a survey that will guide them through, depending on the question and the answer they have, what they should do if they can't talk to somebody right then and there, if they need answers. So that's our goal, is to get that out within the next week for our staff members to have access to that if they can't get a hold of anybody immediately. Thank you to the governing board here for approving our qualified evaluator recommendation. We did our training this past August 17th. That was a huge success with all of our administrators that evaluate all of our certified staff, and getting ready to start engaging in a statewide survey that manages and picks up data on vacancies, classified and certified. That's a huge undertaking, and This one guy, you probably don't know him, Justin Wing. He oversees that, and he does that for the entire state of Arizona. It's a big undertaking, and the data that it provides is not just data for us, what's going on, but it's used at the political level, at the state level, to get their attention of what we need changes. We need, and the root causes of what's going on. So I want to give a shout out to his efforts over from Mesa Unified School District, Justin Wing. So thank you for the time and listening. Let me share what's going on in HR.
Over on the across the dais, Mr. Daniel. Well, I guess we should go in that order, Lori. Okay, we'll move you over. So Daniel Bryan, if you would please update from Business Services.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Stanton. Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Stanton, just give a brief update, just like my team members here have. School has started. One I want to give out to transportation and JJ's department, doing a great job ensuring that the students got back to school. You know, it's an old thing I tell transportation and the bus drivers, they're the first people our students see. And the smiling faces that our bus drivers have and how they can make that school day for that student is just very impressive and important. So I appreciate that of them. I also want to thank operations who had to respond to the monsoon issues too. I had the pleasure of being over at Abraham Lincoln when the river went down the parking lot. So I appreciate everything they do over there. A few things going on coming up for the business department is we're in full swing of closing out our fiscal year and getting our annual financial report, which will be coming to the board in early October. So that's important to finish out our fiscal year. And it has been mentioned several times. We're having some air conditioning issues across the district, as we have pretty much every year as the heat goes. One of the items that we have right now is, as you've heard on the news, there's a lot of transportation logistics backups, ships being stuck and stuff. So we do have some delays in compressors and other items that are coming in, but our operations teams does a great job. I was out with Mr. Kramer this afternoon as we were updating Abraham Lincoln Traditional, because they had 2 AC units that blew over. And so they do a great job, and the whole operations department does a great job of making sure that we're on top of that and that we're getting it done. Central enrollment has been working diligently to get everybody enrolled. Now they're currently working on cleaning up the data to get it up to the state to start our reporting for our enrollment in ADM. Currently right now, as of numbers this week, we're approximately 1,000 students down. And that's a little bit, well, definitely less. Last year we were down about 2,200. But again, we're going to clean up that, and hopefully we'll start to see that flatten out and maybe even come up a little bit based off some historical data that we have. So thank you, and that's my report.
Thank you, Danny. And in academic services, Lori Moore, if you please provide an update about the beginning of school.
Absolutely. President Adams, governing board members. As we've all been talking about, the start of the school was really very smooth, and our teachers did an amazing job, and our administrators, of balancing that social, emotional, and the academic piece. And so thanks to the social workers who are helping to prep ahead of time, there was really a nice feel of just, recognizing that students hadn't been in school for a while and that they needed to really reconnect with their peers and their teachers. So that was a great start to the school year. Obviously, we're interested in learning what we need to do to support our students and making sure that we have an idea of where they're at. So we're very excited this year to have 2 diagnostic tools. Dr. Stanton mentioned those earlier in his report. So we've brought on STAR Reading and STAR Math, and our schools have done a great job of getting those completed with the students. And this is really going to give us some powerful data as to where each individual student is currently performing, and then will allow us to design interventions that we can support their skills and their learning. And so we're excited to bring that on. With that, we realize we have to support our teachers and our staff in the implementation of this diagnostic, as well as how we're going to use that data moving forward. And so we have the Champions Academy that has started. 3 staff members from each school are coming in and getting trained. And then it's going to build that capacity then for them to go back and support their teachers in the implementation and in the use of that data and the reporting back. And so we're very excited that that has started. That also includes district level staff. And so once again, as Dr. Stanton mentioned, district level team is also, we're all learning along with everybody so that we have a clear understanding on how this data will be used to help us move forward. With that, we also are building our interim assessments. And so Dr. Jovanin, our Director of Assessment, brought a team together on this past Saturday. There were 40-plus educators that came, representing each grade level, and they started working on the design of the interim assessments. And so part of this training included just really taking a look at item specifications for tests, for the tests that are aligned with our Arizona State assessment. And then also they took a look at some cultural awareness and test bias items so that as we're writing these assessments, we're taking into consideration those pieces. And then also they learned the assessment platform so that they could go ahead and build those, and then looked at the timelines that would be involved with that. And so finally, just a shout out to the curriculum instruction, the instructional specialist, our coaches. We realized that the start of the school was busy, but we wanted to be out there to support schools. So those teams are getting out there to assist, observe, just do what they can to help realize, that we're all in this together to help our students to improve and grow. And so we're looking forward to, once again, looking at the multiple data points we have in order to support our schools fully.
Mr. Adams, member of the board, members of the audience, I'll finish up. I do want to say, if you notice Mrs. Moore talking about our coaches, I've been asked to present at the law conference about strategies that work with children in need. And I will say one of the things, so here's a preview, that one of the things that Washington does incredibly well is offer support. We have coaches that help in so many arenas, and so thank you, Mrs. Moore, plus other coaches under various, that we just try to provide so much support for our staff to recruit and retain. And if you look around, I don't think you're going to find districts that have as many as we do between ELL, Ed Tech, special ed, admin. I know I'm missing some of their content coaches, and that's just something that Washington has really stamped on its history, and we'd like to continue as well. So kudos for that work. Ms. Whaley alluded to it a little bit earlier, but the benchmarks did move this week. Our percent positivity. Thank you, Miss. There we go. So our percent positivity decreased by about 4% from 18.23 to 14.87. And I do want to remind everybody, although this isn't the Washington Elementary School District and that's how they do that, that has a lot to do with community spread. And so even though we try to list it in as clearly as you can, it's not a perfect science in those areas. But be aware of that we try, that this does, and you can see it says community transmission level is high. The cases per 100,000 went up by a little bit, about roughly 2, as you can see there, 283.84 to 285.07. So we did see a decrease in percent positivity, but we did see a little small uptick. I was on with Maricopa County today again, and they're watching closely to see, I mentioned this last time, if this is a plateau. They don't want to predict, because you got to see the data over time, and they're wondering if this might be a plateau. We'll see, and we'll keep reporting it out to the board members. I know I recognized Deirdre before, but we did get our ESSER survey. They're coming in the results, and she's tallying them. We had over 2,500 families that responded to our survey, and if you have 15,000 families, that's a pretty good ratio. Staff, we had over 500 staff members that actually came in and took our survey as well. We had a focus group. Federal law requires us to have focus group on many students in need, various categories, and so we had representatives from many of those organizations that came with us. Over 12 community members came in, and then even the ones that weren't there, we did ask for their feedback. Some common things, folks want to see us retain our staff. That's good to hear. So folks in general want to, and again, these are general just parameters. We'll get you various stuff in front of the board. Both our staff and our students and families wanted different technologies. So staff wanted technologies that would help them be successful with kids. The families wanted technologies that make them helpful with the kids along the way. Importance of the extracurriculars that we do. I think people don't realize the importance of that, and it's something that we should be aware of along the way. Retention and recruitment I mentioned earlier. Keeping our staff and getting new folks that want to come in. HVAC could be timely because it's hot and we've had some issues, but also the importance of air circulation and clean air is very, very important. So Mike has worked very hard on that as well. that was actually both families and staff along the way. The HVAC, air quality, and then the bottle refill is a big one too. Actually, folks would like to be able to refill water bottles on the campus along the way. So there are other things that'll be coming with it, but it was just interesting to look. So it's always good when you look at data and multiple points of data that you have some commonalities. Like I say, the tech was a little interesting one where the families wanted it for home and needs, et cetera, and then the teachers were also looking for them to be more successful. But again, we'll have more coming along the way. I just want to give a little preliminary on that as well. And then I too want to just thank the staff, the students, the parents, and our board for getting us going during this extremely unique circumstances along the way. And just to give a quick update, Mrs. Mora and a group of folks, our district has talked about multiple tier systems of support, also known as MTSS. And we're going to be using that to help us look at ourselves. So we're going to shine a little light on ourselves and work through those systems. When you have multiple people and multiple systems, you got to make sure they're all working together. So this year we're going to do a little work on our own MTSS as a district, and then we'll work with our schools. Right now, the district's going to frame the ability to work on and implement this year, and we'll work with our schools because, this would be a good time and an opportunity for us to just look within and make sure our process and procedures and our beliefs, et cetera, are all there across the way. So we'll keep giving you updates on MTSS, but I just want to say that at least that's something that we're going to work on this year. Anything else with that, Mrs. Moore? Is that covered? Okay. Thank you, and we'll take questions. Oops. One moment, please. So, anything else from you guys? We good? Danny, you good? Checking. Okay, thanks. I don't have any balloon art, so.
Any board members have any questions for Dr. Stanton or anybody?
I just have one question, Steve. How many vacancies do we have for teachers? How many do we have right now?
Board President Adams, governing board members, right now we're currently with special education as well as content area right around 7.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I just had a couple quick questions. Mr. O'Brien, I wanted to ask about transportation. I know there's been some bus driver shortages in our area. I'm just wondering how our transportation department is doing with that and filling those positions and making sure. I love what you said about the bus driver being that first person they see. For my family, my son started school in Washington Elementary when he was 3 years old, and that bus driver, Miss Blythe, she was the most amazing woman to take him to school every day. And, years later when she was a 7th grade bus driver, we just both cried when we saw each other and realized that. So they're so important. So I just wanted to see how we're doing as far as keeping those positions filled and finding people to do that.
Absolutely. Board Member Peterson, that's a great question. Obviously, we have challenges every year. The transportation department had around 18 towards the start of the school year. We filled a few of them, and Steve's department has done great on those classified job fairs and will continue to do so. So we don't have as many as we have in the past, and they're continuing to work on it and working around schedules and routes.
So we're having to reroute and do certain things.
A few, and move kids from one bus to another, but we're staying on task and we're staying on time.
Great, thank you. And then we keep hearing that number, we're this many down, we're this many down. So when you say we're 1,000 students down, I just want to clarify, that 1,000 students, that's down from 2019, 2020 numbers? Or down in projection of what we thought we would be? I'm just curious exactly what that means.
Okay, you're leaning. Sorry, Dr. Stanton, you're leaning. That's a 1,000 down from when we do comparison.
Okay.
From last year to this year.
Okay, so from the start of last year, we're 1,000 students down from
the same time period. Yes.
So from the start of 2020, 2021.
Yeah. So from approximately the let's see, we're in 10th, 11th, 12th. So 13th day to 13th day.
Okay.
Of school.
So it's a year-to-year comparison.
Yes.
Okay, I appreciate that information. Thank you. And then I just wanted to just quickly say to Ms. Mora, thank you. I love hearing about our teachers getting together on a Saturday to design those interim assessments, to learn about the methods of assessment and the important things that go into that. I'm going to say it every time I have the opportunity to say it. I love our own teachers building our own assessments, building our own curriculum. They're experts and they're professionals, and we should treat them as such. So thank you for bringing that up, and thank you for doing that with our teachers. And thank you to the teachers that were there putting in that work and effort on a Saturday, the first month of school, when we don't have very much to give on a Saturday. So thank you so much to everyone that was there. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if no one has anything else, and team, thank you very much. Another great report, and obviously it's thank you to our family and everybody that does what they do. You're all magic, and I can go on and on and on saying thank you, so you all get the message. It's been brought to our attention that during our public participation, I'm sorry, forgive me, during our public hearing portion, where we had the opportunity for the community to come in during the chat, it might not have been working properly. So with that, I'd like to go back and open it up for any comments. Is that how I do
Yes.
it, Shannon?
It is currently open now.
So
We reopened it.
So what I need to do is I need a motion to recess for a minute.
The President Adams is suggesting, because it was open and a message was sent out to the public that it is open now for comments. Any individual who didn't see that activation, I'm guessing, maybe they needed to refresh, but it was open, but we're happy to open it again. And it is open right now. So anyone listening, if they have a question, but I think to be official, we probably need to go back into public.
It will not change our vote. So
Oh.
unfortunately, we've already voted.
Okay.
But we still need to be able to give the community an opportunity to, yes, sir.
Just, Mr. Adams, just to make sure it's clear, this is the regards to the second reading of policy IC, school year and instructional time model. So I just want to be clear on that, correct?
Yes.
Because recovered comments were added online. Okay, that's my understanding. So, because otherwise, for public participation, you have to give us 24 hours.
Public hearing,
You have to do
yeah,
the form
uh-huh.
and do it 24 hours prior. So this is regarding the public comments.
Regarding instructional time model and policy IC, instructional year and time policy. So, I mean, as far as school year and instructional time models.
Right.
That's the one it's about.
So this will give the community an opportunity to chime in. And so with that, may I have a motion to recess briefly?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
I second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are now open for public comments, and we'll give a couple of minutes for those to come in. And thank you, board, and thank you, administration. And to the individual that sent us the message, thank you to that individual.
Welcome. Yep, they're monitoring right now. Wait for us. I do have a comment, but it's not related to this, so it's not something that we would even, but it is obviously working because we've received something now from the audience.
So I'd like to make a motion to return to regular meeting.
I second.
So, Steph, You just read that into the minutes, right?
I'm going to officially do it now. Thank you, Ms. Whaley. So we did reopen the public, the chat so that the public can comment during the public hearing. We did do that previously, but because there was concern that it didn't work, we did reopen it. And we did receive one comment now
Hold on.
that it's been reopened, but the comment is unrelated to this agenda item, totally unrelated.
So since it's not related, we don't read that into the comment
No,
because it
I won't.
didn't follow our public comment and it didn't align with the hearing, right? So we won't be reading it into the.
Absolutely not.
Okay,
Thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge, at least that's proof that it's working.
No, appreciate it, and thank you for everybody going through the exercise. So we do have a motion to reconvene. May I have a second?
I second.
And may I have a second? So all those in favor signify by saying aye. Okay.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so the motion passes, and so now we are back in regular, thank you, sir. So now we're back into our regular meeting, and that brings us to, I think, future agenda items, if I'm correct? Yes. Okay, so, board, anybody have a future agenda item? Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to have a future agenda item to discuss and revisit the reopening plan for update, potential update.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, not hearing any. Again, thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful new school year. May I have a motion for adjournment, please?
So move.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.